We only have 2 weeks of 2024 left, and I heard you wanted to up-level your life in 2025, so let's sit down, have a chat on how you're actually going to do that without feeling stuck, stressed, or overwhelmed. Hi, I'm Rosalie. I'm a Swiss content creator. I've been creating content on TikTok for the past 2 years, all about self-improvement and mindfulness, and now I wanted to shift my content from TikTok to YouTube as well. So if you're new here, I would be very happy if you would follow me along on the journey. And I'm so sorry for my English because I'm Swiss, it's not the best. So let's go level up your life in 2025. So before you can level up your life, you need to think of where you want to be next year. I like to divide my goals into sections, so either spiritual, mental and physical goals, or just section the goals into my life sections, so career, relationship, friendships, family, money, and so on. And I like to put it down into my journal, but you can just take a piece of paper if you want, and then actually write down the goals you have for 2025. So for an example, if your goal is to reach 10k on TikTok in 2025, write down that goal in your career section. Your goals should be limitless, but still realistic for 2025. I am all for unlimited thinking and goal setting, but if your mind doesn't believe that you actually can achieve these goals, you will just procrastinate and be stuck for the whole year and never get to where you wanted to actually go. So just imagine your best version in 2025 and think about what they would be able to reach in 2025 if they had no fear whatsoever. So after you wrote down your goals, you can create a vision board. I like to do that on Pinterest or Canva. It helps my mind to understand what my life would look like if I were to reach that goal, because my mind works very visually. If my mind sees it, it's more realistic for my mind. What you can do as well is to ask ChatGPT to describe a day in the life of your dream life in 2025, which also makes it more realistic for your mind to believe, because you can actually read what a day would look like if you were to achieve these goals. What I also like to do is to actually create a collage and then put it as my phone background so I can see it every day. I have like kind of a motivational board as a background. So once you did the sections, the vision board and maybe the ChatGPT, break down your goals into simple steps. Because often we just see the whole mountain and we cannot focus on the step in front of us. The mountain overwhelms us. When you break it down into steps and just look at your feet, where they are going, as the next step, it's so much easier to walk up there, and at the end of the year you will look back and you're like, oh wow, I did that. And in order to not see the whole mountain, you need to break it down in steps. And these steps need to be actionable, of course. You need to be able to take them. So for each goal you wrote down on your piece of paper, break down these goals into steps you can take to achieve these goals. Let's take for an example, you want to start with content creation in 2025. So let's break down the goal of starting with content creation. The first step could be that you actually just educate yourself on how to become a content creator, how to create good content, how to edit, how to film. And the second step after you educated yourself on these topics could be to just buy a camera, buy a microphone, anything that helps you with content creation, anything that you need. The third step could be to actually film a video, to edit it, just to see what you like to film and how you like to edit, maybe to even develop a signature editing style. And then the fourth step could be, for example, creating actual social media accounts and publish your first video. But before you publish anything, there were 3 steps before that. And if you don't break down the goal into these steps, you will not start because you will feel overwhelmed. So break down all of your goals into simple steps. And after you broke down your goals into simple steps, you need to ask yourself, what is hindering you to take the first step in each of these sections? Write down everything that comes to mind on what is hindering you to take these steps. And surprise, mostly the reasons are fear-based. And the first step to release these fears is to actually just become aware of them, that you have them, and that these fears are stopping you to start. I will talk about the most common ones that stop you from actually reaching your goals, so I will just go through them. If you want to, you can skip to the ones that are hindering you to reach your goals. So the first one is your limiting beliefs. I am not good enough, I cannot do that, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough. And 99% of us, we have these limiting beliefs even if we are not aware of them. So how can you identify and resolve these beliefs or turn them into a positive belief? The first step is to become aware of your limiting beliefs. I will write a list here real quick of the most common limiting beliefs. But if you don't resonate with any of these beliefs, just observe yourself in your relationship or your surroundings and observe where you hold yourself back out of fear, what triggers you, what makes you angry or sad. And most of the time there are limiting beliefs that make you feel this way. So once you're aware of these beliefs, how can you change them? There are so many ways on how you can do that, but this is the way I use to change my limiting beliefs. First, I go to the origin, to the root on where the belief was created. Mostly that's in my childhood or in my teenage years, just because that's where I learned how the world works. That's where my authority figures told me on how I should behave or how I shouldn't behave. That's where authority figures told me that I am not smart enough, for an example in school, or told me that I am not pretty enough, and so on. So I go back to the root on where my belief was created, and I work with my inner child. Here's a book recommendation for anyone who never worked with their inner child, but basically you need to tell your inner child the positive belief and maybe even forgive the person who gave you that limiting belief. Because when an authority figure implants a limiting belief on our child self is mostly hurt, and we have to forgive this authority figure, just because as a child we're probably not aware that it hurt us, but just thinking about that you are not smart enough, that is not something nice to feel or to get said, especially as a child. So most likely you need to forgive the person who gave you the limiting belief. And I do that with meditation. There are a lot of forgiveness meditations that work quite well with me, but you can also just imagine you forgiving that person if that is possible for you. For me, often it isn't, just because for me it's often difficult to forgive someone who I am not ready to forgive. So I mostly just do the meditation because it's so much easier for me to forgive if I do that. So once you work with your inner child, that it's okay to think that they are smart enough and that they can achieve whatever they want, and you forgave the person who gave you that belief, you need to replace the belief with a positive belief. So for an example, if you think you are not smart enough, replace the belief with I am smart enough. And maybe you even need to work with affirmations to actually affirm that statement, to actually believe that belief. Okay, so the second section is laziness. You're just too lazy to reach your goals and you procrastinate. We often think that we are lazy because we lack discipline, but oftentimes that's not really the case. There are 3 things that mostly stop you from actually doing stuff. So the first one is overwhelmed. You're just overwhelmed with where you want to go. So you just stop and you procrastinate. You're lazy because you're overwhelmed. The second one is you lack motivation, and that is so important. You lack motivation because you have no why, or your why isn't big enough. If we humans don't have a why, don't have a reason on why we do the work that we do, we will not want to work it. Like, we don't see a reason why we should do it. So your why, your reason of doing the things you want to do must be bigger than your laziness. And the third one is fear of failure or fear of success. Oftentimes when we are too lazy, we are actually afraid of our own success, because if we succeed and if we achieve something, our whole reality is going to change, and anything new is uncomfortable. So we rather stay in our comfortable little bubble that limits us than to expand and to create a new reality. If you achieve your goals, it's very likely that you're going to lose people on the way. People who are jealous of you, people who don't want to go the way you want to go, which is completely okay, but you're still going to lose them. So basically we like to stay in our comfortable bubble, and because of that we are lazy. We are afraid of our own success. And because both of these scenarios, failure or success, are out of your comfort zone. Because no matter if you fail or succeed, your reality will change. People will look at you differently. And that is not something we humans like. We like to stay in our comfort zone, so we'd rather not change anything about our reality than to change anything and either succeed or fail. But if you never tried, you will never know. So maybe you will succeed, but you're just afraid of it because anything will change. So now we have these 3 things on why you're probably lazy. How can you change these things to actually overcome your laziness? So the first step is to observe when and why you are lazy. So is it the overwhelm? Is it the lack of the why? Is it the fear of failure or success? Become aware of why you are actually lazy. Becoming aware is the first step to actually changing anything. The second thing here as well is to divide your goal into steps, into small sections that will not overwhelm you as much. And the third step is to find or remember your why, your reason of doing the things you want to do. Why do you want to work what you want to work? Why do you want to up-level yourself in the gym? Why do you want to earn so much money? If your why is not big enough, you will not reach your goals. A quick example here. Imagine that somebody told you that you need to earn 10k in the next 2 weeks or else you're going to die. And I promise you, if you really want to live, you will get these 10k's no matter what. So as you see, your why of being alive is bigger, so you will get to that 10k no matter what. So observe yourself over the next few days and write down every time you get lazy, write down why you get lazy, become aware of it, and then change whatever you need to change in order to stop being lazy. Okay, next section. education. What if instead of chasing the thing you want, you actually become the version who already has it? And that's something that is all about education and becoming someone you didn't know before. And you can only become someone you weren't before if you educate yourself. If you imagine your best version in 2025, what kind of education does she or he lack that you need to have in order to reach your goals? It could be, for an example, education on how to manage finances. It could be education on how to go to the gym, on how to start with content creation, whatever your goals might be. So from today on, invest 10 minutes daily into your self-education. Maybe even write down what education you're missing to reach the goals you set for yourself in 2025. Here are a few examples of books or podcasts that helped me and that got me education that I needed. So the first book that I recommend to everyone and anyone is The Child in You by Stefanie Stahl. So it's a German author, I think, but the book is available in English as well. And for me in content creation, I actually bought a guide of an influencer, and she really helped me to start with content creation or get into it even more. And her name is, I think, Jasmine Kyla, and she has a guide that you can buy for, I think, $60. And maybe people think that, wow, that is a lot, but for me, an investment in your education is an investment in your life, and I'd rather spend like $60 on an educational guide than on new clothing or anything. Of course, there are educational platforms like School or Circle where you can join a community and actually educate yourself on whatever you like. For an example, I am building such a community right now on School where you will have a lot of education about self-development, meditation, yoga. I will teach online yoga weekly, and just to educate yourself on these topics, you can go on these platforms as well. And by the way, if you have recommendations for anything educational, write it down in the comments, maybe it will help someone. Okay, let's go to the next one. Fear of what other people think of you. I think this is one of the biggest things why people don't start with their dreams. Let's get to the bad news first. People will always talk about you. Let's go to the good news. People will always talk about you. So when you realize that, you can just let go because you don't have control over it anyways. But I know that this realization might just come as soon as you start. So here are the 5 things that actually helped me to get over the fear of what other people think of me. So the first step is to stop gossiping yourself. If you gossip or if you talk badly about other people, you're actually judging yourself through the lens of others. For example, if you think that that person looks weird, it's most likely because you deep down think that you might look weird sometimes as well, or that you are scared that other people might think you look weird. So every time you gossip or you judge yourself through others. So the second thing has something to do with the first one as well. We are often scared of what other people think of us because we think badly about ourselves as well. If you are 100% confident in what you do and you just think you are so amazing, you will not have time or you don't have the energy to even think about what others think of you. So often you're scared because you think that about yourself as well. For an example, at the beginning, I think my content, it was fine, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, and I was kind of insecure about it sometimes. So I was scared of what other people might think of it. And now that my content creation game is pretty much leveled up and I'm very confident in it, I don't really care because I think it's cool. I think my content is very awesome, so I don't really care anymore. The third one is that we literally live on a floating rock in a universe, and we have 8 billion people on this planet, and you are scared of what 10 people of these 8 billion people think about it. Just get these things into perspective and realize that it might not be as important as you thought it was. Even if people talk, like, what about it? It doesn't change anything about your life. The fourth one is don't take criticism from anyone who isn't where you want to be in 2025. And the fifth one is the time you use right now to worry about what people think of you, the time you procrastinate because you are scared of what other people will say, you could have used that time already to start, and you will probably be much further if you just started. If you live a life trying to please everybody, you're not living your own life. You're actually living the life of the people you are afraid of. And do you want to live such a life? And the last one, just start. Once you start, even with the fear of what other people might think, the fear will dissolve. I don't know, that's something I realized when I started with content creation. Of course, I was scared of what other people might think about me or say about me. I was very scared of it, but I just started anyways with that fear. And after I heard the first few bad talks, it didn't really affect me anymore, just because I realized that they will talk bad anyways, no matter what you do. So just start with the fear, create the success, and you will not care anymore. Now coming to the last thing that might not get you to your goals in 2025 is your identity. Identity is something that is so overlooked in my opinion, and it's so important to change your identity to match your goals. Because if you hold on to the old version that doesn't serve you, you will never make room for the version you're trying to become. With every thought, with every action, everything that you do, you reinforce your identity, and your identity reinforces every thought, every action, every word. So it's kind of like a circle, and if you don't choose to change that, you never will. So you actually need to choose a new identity, and you need to identify yourself with your goals. So for an example, in 2025 you want to become a content creator. Identify yourself as a content creator. Say, I am a content creator. As soon as you start to identify yourself with it, it's so much easier for your subconscious to actually make decisions towards these goals. So if you actually identify yourself as a content creator and you say, I am a content creator, it will be so much easier to actually sit down and create content, because you think, yeah, that's me. That is who I am. That is what I do. So start to identify yourself with it, maybe even affirm. Say to yourself, I am a content creator, and also say to other people, I am a content creator, even if they laugh at you. It doesn't matter. It's your identity. Because when you change your identity, you also change your thoughts and your actions. Okay, these are all of the most common things that are hindering you from getting to your goals in 2025. If you have something else, you can let me know in the comments, and I will try to respond, and I will try to get you a good answer on that. And otherwise, let's go to the next step. So once you've set your goals, broke them down into steps, and released your hinderings to reach these goals, it's time to actually start with the first step. You can even write down a plan that you have for 2025 on when you want to reach these goals and how you want to reach these goals in these time frames. For example, if you want to become a content creator by summer 2025, write down what you're going to do in January, write down what you're going to do in February, March, April, June, and so on. So each month you're going to take at least one step towards that goal. So for an example, January could only be about educating yourself on how to create good content, what kind of content you want to create, what platforms you want to use. February could be all about investing in camera equipment. March could be all about just trying to film and edit the first few videos. So when you have this realistic plan of these broken down sections of your goals, start with the first step today. And when you hear this, it could be possible that you think like, oh, today I don't have time for that. No excuses anymore. Start today with an easy thing that you can do. Buy a book about content creation. Do anything, any step that brings you closer to at least one of the goals that you wrote down for 2025. Because only if you stop procrastinating, make it possible for your mind, you will actually reach the goals that you want to reach in 2025. Okay, I hope that helped somebody. Thank you so much for watching if you watched up until now, and I hope that you have the best year ever in 2025 and that you reach all of the goals that you have set yourself today.